Okay, so this pallet I found on the side of the road probably a year, 2 years ago now. It was in good condition. Other than you can see it's missing a slat, but otherwise in good condition, so I just took it home with me. I didn't know what to do with it for a long time, but this summer I thought let's make an outdoor sofa because I haven't been really enjoying the outside that much, and I didn't have any seating area, so let's do that. Now in terms of the design, the missing slat turns out to be quite good for me, because I don't have many tools and I want to find the most kind of lazy possible way to build this outdoor sofa. So in terms of this design, what I decided to do was is to cut the pallet in half, and the left hand side I want to use that as the backrest of the sofa, and then the right hand side I want to use that as the seat, so the base of the sofa. So my idea was to just cut slots into the base of the sofa, and then I can just slot in the backrest into the base of the seat. Easy, right? But as I was doing it, as I was cutting the slot, I realized that I've basically just completely destroyed the base, the integrity of the base of the sofa. So as you can see, I had to prop up just spare wood to prop under the pallet just so I can cut through it, because obviously now the support of the base is gone. But that's okay because I'm gonna have to build legs for this sofa anyway, so as part of that I will just use some spare wood and then just reinforce the base of the sofa. So that's what we are going to do next. And don't ask me why I'm using a handsaw and not my miter saw, which of course I do have. It's just that my miter saw is quite heavy and quite awkward to move it to this bit where I need to use it. So I decided to just use a handsaw, which is great though, because this project can easily, as I'm doing it now, just with a handsaw, and you don't need any kind of big machineries or even a miter saw to do this. So I think that's a good thing. Having said that, later on when I get to doing the legs, I did start to regret it because I had a lot more pieces to cut and it was a lot harder to do without a miter saw. But hey, I still did it just with a handsaw, so completely doable. Just require a bit of patience and elbow grease. So the reason I'm adding these vertical blocks to the base is so that it creates that slot for the backrest to slot in, and without having necessarily kind of screw the backrest into place. You'll see what I mean as I finish this, and I'll show you. Okay, so as you see here, I am slotting my backrest into the base of my sofa. I don't have to use any screws, no glue, no screws, it just slots into place. So even though it might not look like it, this backrest is very secure. I'm not hovering whatsoever, I am completely leaning back. I'm using it as I would if it was a normal kind of, a sofa. So yeah, it's very secure, it's not going anywhere. You can see the slot in the far side is probably a bit too wide, so as I lean back the slats kind of move in its place, but honestly it's not an issue. I've been using it for 6 months and it's really solid. So let's get to the legs, which, believe it or not, is actually the hardest part of this whole thing. Alright, so this is actually the next day because I ran out of daylight and it rained overnight, so that's why I'm having to move my sofa from the outside to the inside and inside to the outside again, so I can work on the legs. This is actually a good way to demonstrate how easy it is to take it apart and then move it when I need to. The reason I designed it that way is because I didn't plan on keeping this outside for the long term. Because first of all, I don't have any covering outside, and second of all, I didn't plan on putting a finish on the pallet. So my plan was to keep it outside when the weather's nice, and then move it inside when the weather is not so good. And that's exactly what I've done now because it's winter. So this is actually part of my dining bench for my dining area, and it's been working great. Okay, here I am measuring how high I want the legs to be. I would tell you this, I made two mistakes because ultimately I made the legs too high, so my sofa is actually too high for my liking anyway. So the two mistakes I made. So the first one is to get a base measurement. Instead of measuring my sofa that I have or trying to look up what an average sofa height would be, instead I just measured an outdoor chair that I had. Now obviously a chair is going to sit a bit higher than a sofa, so that already starting off with the wrong foot. And the second mistake I made was, so I got these secondhand cushions to make the sofa more comfortable. However, obviously did not take into account how high this cushion was going to be. So that added to the overall height. So yeah, don't make the same mistakes I do. Just have a look on Google. It tells you kind of the average height, what a sofa should be. Use that, and then also make sure you take into account your sofa height. Okay, so in terms of how I attach the legs to the sofa, I am using L brackets, as you can see here. This is because I just have them laying around in my cupboard for a long time, so I thought I might as well use them. So I actually use a similar method when I build my TV stand. So instead of using L brackets, my TV stand, I use pocket hole screws, and then I screw the legs into the stand itself. So the only reason this works is because the legs I've chosen are quite wide. So essentially the TV stand itself, or in this case the base of the sofa, they are resting on the legs, and then obviously I'm attaching them to make sure they don't move. But the issue with the L brackets is I've only used two, purely for aesthetic reasons. I didn't want to have the L brackets very obviously showing from kind of the outside of the sofa. So I only used two on both the inside of the sofa. And you can already start to see the problem. So if you look at the first leg that I did, which is the furthest from the camera, you can see that the leg is tilting, and the direction that the leg is tilting is in the direction where I've put one of the L brackets. I think this is less about just having two L brackets, but probably more about how I did the L brackets. I probably install the inner one, which is the side that it's tilting towards, tighter than the outer one, because all four legs do the same thing, and I always install the one that the leg's tilting towards. I always install that one first, and I'd install the other one. So I'm guessing the first one just goes in at a tighter angle than the other one. Okay, pay attention as I lift this. You'll see that all four legs are tilting quite aggressively. Yeah, that doesn't look good, does it? But what I do is I just kick the legs outwards, so then they are sitting flat against the floor and against the base of the sofa itself. Not ideal, but it works. So how will I do it differently next time? So I actually do have dowels, so I don't know why I didn't think of that, but next time I'll just use dowels. So then use dowels to connect the base of the sofa and the legs together. That is a much more easy way to align the legs so then they don't tilt. But secondly, it'll be easier to take the legs apart, because right now I have never done that, because if I do it I have to unscrew 8 screws instead of just kind of twisting and pulling the legs apart with dowels. But yeah, that's it. That's how I built my outdoor sofa. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.